This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
I just noticed they moved a box in front of the other box, so there's like, if there's a cat in the box, you wouldn't be able to see it. Flash, good evening. Josephus, welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Tuesday. News been doing a lot of shit. We're going to be finding out what it be doing here in just a second. Anybody else sneak in here on me? Froggy, Milf, good evening. Soup, DJ Dub. Haven't seen you guys already tonight. That never happened. Holiday, my friend anonymously. Good people in here. Socialist aunt. My socialist aunt. The ratchet music years of the 2010s. I don't even know what was playing. Was it Young Thug? Warlord, Sparkles, Clinically, everyone. Good evening, welcome. Cicero! For duck's sake. Tuesday, isn't it? Oh, it's Kesha. I love Kesha. I've seen Kesha live. Minty, good evening. Automod being a dick over here. I'm not paying attention to it. Oh, there it is. I missed it. It's way back up there. Fuck. God damn it. There we go. It was a specific era, and that's the era. So we're wondering, there's this thing, they've coined this phrase, recession pop. So you get Kesha, Carly Rae Jepsen, Lady Gaga coming out of the financial crisis. And they call that like recession pop. So it's like escapist pop. So is Chappell Roan like a harbinger of the recession that is on the way? We've got new escapist pop dominating. It didn't work out well for Katy Perry this time, that's for fucking sure. What kind of pizza you making, Josephus? We got a hell of a show tonight, all kinds of news. I will not be shaving my head. Donald Trump hit with fresh indictments. They're the same indictments he already had, but freshly minted post SCOTUS ruling. I will not be shaving my head. I'm so happy to have my hair be growing out. Especially watching the old clips of myself with long hair. I'm like, oh my God, I look so much better back then. First thing I'm going to plug is that there are new puppies on the puppy bus. So be sure to stay tuned to the end of the show. There are new puppies on the puppy bus, and we will get introduced to them. Speaking of puppies, a very famous French actor wanted to be buried with his puppy, but luckily for us, the puppy is going to get to live. He wanted to be buried with his puppy, as in euthanize it and put it in the grave with him. Fuck that dude. Some shit from the freezer. Damn, Josephus. I'm not a freezer pizza kind of guy. My apologies. Trump has finally agreed to the terms of the debate. I think we're going to get the microphones unmuted. RFK to stay on the ballot in the battleground state of Michigan. We're going to hear from Mark Zuckerberg on apparent censorship at the behest of the government, and we're going to break down why that's hilarious. The DOJ is being sued over the Russiagate investigation. We're going down to Texas and check in with our good buddy Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton has been indicted for pretty much as long as I've been doing the Troll Patrol show. He's up to more fuckery down in Texas. Speaking of fuckery in our elections, the Georgia Election Board being called on to dismantle, just throw off the GOP members. My dad isn't home. I know. Soup. I'm gonna assume Grinder. Ken Paxton absolutely needs to fuck off. Everybody that's in government in Texas pretty much needs to fuck off. They all suck. And Ken Paxton had an impeachment trial brought on by Republicans and was able to avoid the trial. It's amazing. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis is facing a challenger in this fall's election. That challenger is saying they promise to end the YSL trial, that is the Young Thug trial currently going on in Georgia. We're going to check in with Emmanuel Macron, who has made a mess of France. Impeachment calls are growing. The youth of France is very upset. And apparently the liberals are meeting with the far-right government about forming a coalition. It's insane. Vladimir Zelensky has proposed a peace plan. We have wild video of a hostage being rescued from a Hamas tunnel by the IDF. A Rice student was killed on her first day of class. Remember the video I played of the airman in Florida who got shot by the cops for no goddamn reason? Completely innocent. They apparently went to the wrong apartment. Well, I've got some good news for you. That cop has been arrested and charged. A structure fire has been burning for a good portion of the day in LA. A crash early morning in San Diego killed at least one cop. I think another one might have died. Since we've got several high-end cars being targeted by carjackers. A Rolls Royce, a Ferrari, and over in New York, a group of men beat the fuck out of somebody and stole a Lamborghini. Speaking of carjackers, we have one appearing in court that gave middle fingers to the cameras. Some burglars in New York robbed a newsstand, then hopped on a bus and went and robbed another one. A guy that went viral about a decade ago when he was brought into court with one of his former classmates as the judge, and he went viral for it, has apparently gone viral again for being back in court on the same charges. A naked man is terrorizing a neighborhood in Los Angeles. A man has been arrested for what this news station is calling a lemonade larceny. An Australian amusement park ride got stuck in midair. All that and a lot of freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol live. Good evening. Welcome. All the good news today. Josephus, are you asking me, are you saying you need my advice? What do you need my advice on? I'm probably not the guy to ask for advice. Dustin, good evening. There is a guy who paints his face green, and he's pretty fat, and he sits on a couch shirtless with his face painted green, with his hair up in a bun, and you can call him. It's a Twitch channel. I've never seen him on. Whenever we're getting off the stream, or I'd totally raid you guys into it, and then call in and ask the guy for advice. And here's the thing is, like, he's completely serious as he's sitting there with his face painted green, with his big man titties out. Is it Lizard Guy? I don't even know the name of the channel. I was telling Curiouser about it the other day. I couldn't find the channel, but then like a few days later, I saw him live because I follow him. Okay, real quick. What do you need advice on? We got 1 minute until I need to get to this news. I'll get a little high. You ask me what you need, or you ask the question you got. Tell me what you need advice with. I will give you the worst advice possible. Oh no, you're gonna wait a few, then we're gonna be in the news. I've tried to put a new restriction on myself that we need to be on the news by 10 after. It used to be 20 after, but now it's 10 after because I feel like people want to get to the news, find out what it be doing. You didn't come to hear me ramble. You came to find out what that news be doing. So I want to give the people what they came for. Igloo, good evening, my friend. I have this great idea for a podcast. I've been looking for somebody to pitch it to, and I pitched it to Paradigm Shift earlier, and then he never said a fucking word back to me. If that motherfucker steals my podcast idea, I'm gonna go beat the fuck out of Paradigm Shift. Never said anything back to me. How you gonna do me like that, brother? All right, top story tonight. I'm not shaving my head despite the fact that Trump been hit with fresh indictments.
Special counsel Jack Smith has filed a new indictment against Donald Trump in connection with his federal election interference case. To be clear, the new indictment...
Oh, Milvis, it's not a biggie. I'm just giving him more time.
But it does reflect last month's Supreme Court ruling that Mr. Trump is immune from prosecution for official acts as president. Join me now is NBC's Justice and Intelligence correspondent, Ken Delaney. And Ken, break this down for us.
So, Gabe, this is an interesting move by the special counsel. The special counsel really had two choices here in trying to comply with the Supreme Court's decision that a president can't be prosecuted for official acts. He could have let the judge in this case, Tanya Chutkan, go through the indictment and rule on each individual part of it and decide what could stay in and what could come out. But he chose to actually make a bid himself by filing a new pared-down indictment, a 36-page indictment that still reflects the larger case that he filed originally. It still accuses Donald Trump of 3 separate criminal conspiracies to defraud the United States, to obstruct Congress, and to deprive Americans of their rights to vote by perpetrating lies and false claims of fraud knowingly. That's the indictment. That's what it says. But it takes out some aspects that were clearly official presidential acts. For example, there was a whole section of the indictment that referred to Donald Trump's effort to get the Justice Department to claim that there was fraud in the election when he knew that there was not. That is gone now because the Supreme Court said clearly
that's an official act. To tell the Justice Department to lie, that's an official act.
that was an official act. Now, just because Jack Smith says that the conduct described in this new indictment is not official acts, that's not the...
I thought it was 4, Dustin, but maybe they amended 3 and the 4th one didn't change. Is that possible?
last word, right? So the defense is going to have its own version of this, and they're going to fight probably on some of these things. And the judge ultimately will have to decide, and that may be appealed, and that may go all the way up to the Supreme Court. So we're not going to have a trial in this case anytime soon. What this is a first bid by the special counsel to try to comply with that historic Supreme Court decision, which decreed that the president cannot be prosecuted for official acts while in office.
Yeah, and Ken, we just got a note from our colleagues Adam Reese, Laura Jarrett, saying they are in touch.
Well, hey, you know, I have a hard time with math as well. Who doesn't?
You take your 30-30 and a third chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 and a third chance of winning.
Light one up, dib one back.
With Trump's attorneys who are just now reviewing the superseding indictment, they're reviewing it right now. You touched on this a little bit, but what is the timeline here? How realistically, what is the soonest this can get to trial? You mentioned, you know, people have been saying that there's no way this, happens, as you said, anytime soon. But are we talking months, years?
It could be many months to a year, depending on whether this question of what's an official act can be appealed before trial or not. And to be honest, I don't know the answer to that question now. I'm going to try to figure it out. But because what's going to happen here is there's going to be hearings before the district judge, Judge Tanya Chutkan, about what are official acts, about what part of this indictment can stand and what can't. The defense is going to argue that almost all of it was official acts, right? So the judge is going to have to decide that, and her decision will set the parameters of the trial, of what conduct Donald Trump can be tried on. But that question can be appealed to the D.C. Circuit Court and then ultimately to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court kind of left it loose in their immunity decision as to what conduct really constituted official presidential acts and what was purely personal. They said they wanted the judge to take a look at that and decide, and then the appellate courts to take another look. So this really could go on for a long time. And obviously, it's really important to say, if Donald Trump wins the election in November,
this is over with.
The Justice Department will continue litigating this case up until the moment he's sworn in. And at that point, the Supreme Court said in their decision, sitting presidents cannot be prosecuted. So the Justice Department would be obligated to suspend the case at that point. And Donald Trump, when he's president, could order the Justice Department to drop it altogether, Gabe.
Ken Delanian with the breaking news. Ken, thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Shut up, Lester. No, I would say best case scenario, this goes to trial next summer. The election gets taken care of. Harris wins. From there, they'll go back and forth for a few months. They'll set a trial date for next summer. Trump would absolutely pull a BB, but I don't think he's going to be back in a position to pull a BB. We do have indication from Trump now that he will indeed participate in the debate in a little over 2 weeks. I was kind of worried he was going to pull out.
Former President Donald Trump says he has reached an agreement to participate in the September 10th debate with Vice President Harris. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said the debate will take place on ABC News and said the format will follow the same rules as the last CNN debate. CBS News has reached out to the Harris-Walz campaign but has not yet heard back. Let's bring in Olivia Rinaldi for more. So, Olivia, still unclear. Are we any closer to knowing what's happening?
I hope not, DJ Dub.
And whether it will be muted.
Yeah, Lindsay, there's been a lot of back and forth about this debate. Will they, won't they? What does it look like? We're getting a little bit more clarification from this Truth Social post that Donald Trump just put out. You read a few things. I do want to note that he also said the rules will be the same as the CNN debate. And at the CNN debate, that is where they had the mics muted when a candidate was not speaking or perhaps when the question had gone to someone else. So if the rules are the same, we anticipate that that is something that will be continuing on in this debate. Trump also said the debate will be stand up, meaning the candidates will be standing, not sitting, and they will not be able to bring notes or, quote, cheat sheets. So all of these things pretty similar to the CNN debate that
I would want notes. I would want the mics to be open. I'd want to stand.
We saw back in June between former President Donald Trump and President Biden. Of course, this is going to be the first time that Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump will be sitting down together for a debate. And we do know that this will be happening on September 10th in Philadelphia. Now, as you mentioned, we are out to the Harris campaign to make sure that all of these issues with mics and standing and notes are kaput, that they're done, that they've agreed on them, and that we can move forward and decide whether or not this debate is actually going to happen or not. But of course,
let's hope. I'm looking forward to it.
Could happen with this.
Yeah, sitting down for the debate, or in this case, standing up for the debate. Olivia, what else are you hearing from the Trump campaign on their movements this week?
Yeah, so we know later this week Donald Trump will be returning to Michigan. He'll be holding some remarks there. He'll also be doing a town hall in Wisconsin. What's interesting about that is that Tulsi Gabbard, who endorsed him on Monday, will be there with him. Now, she is the former representative, Democratic representative, who ran for president in 2020. She dropped out of that race, endorsed Bernie Sanders, and then now left the Democratic Party in 2022 and is now endorsing former President Donald Trump. So she'll be
I've been muted the whole fucking time. No, you say that, but like when we did the press conference, I've been coughing a lot tonight, Torchy. When we did the press conference he held the other night, he was reading off of a piece of paper, and it shocked the shit out of me because I was like, I thought he couldn't read.
there with him on Thursday, rather. Then Friday, Donald Trump will be going to Pennsylvania to give some remarks near Pittsburgh. It'll be his first return back to that area since the assassination attempt in July. And then later that evening, he'll be speaking at the Moms for Liberty convention here in Washington, D.C. So a lot on the plate for the former president. That also comes as Vice President Kamala Harris is doing a bus tour in Georgia with her running mate, Governor Walz.
The Trump campaign says, quote, "We are proud that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard have been added to the Trump-Vance transition team. We look forward to having their powerful voices on the team as we work for America's greatness." Both spent most of their political lives as progressive Democrats. What do we know about this decision to bring them into the...
Did they?
Yeah, as I mentioned about Tulsi Gabbard, she is someone who kind of did a little bit of a turnaround and is now endorsing the former president. And we learned today that Robert Kennedy Jr. and Ms.
Okay, that was one thing that I proposed, Flash. That it was possible, if you've ever seen Charlie's writing on It's Sunny in Philadelphia, that he had wrote it out in some sort of picture hieroglyphic thing, and that only he knew how to read it. That's possible.
Gabbard will be on the Trump transition team. They will be honorary coaches.
Need to do an intervention on your goddamn illiteracy.
Don Jr. and Eric, along with also Senator J.D. Vance, his running mate, is also an honorary co-chair of that transition. So it's interesting they're being brought back into the fold. Trump had some notable comments about RFK Jr. Yesterday when he was at a campaign stop in Virginia, where he said he's being very well received by the party. That was notable. That perked my interest, quite frankly, hearing how he said RFK is being received by his base and by Republicans. So it was only natural for Trump to then bring him on in some capacity. What I'll be watching for, though, is to see if RFK will join him on the campaign trail again. You can see them there in Glendale, Arizona, but I'm curious if they will be joined any other time throughout this campaign. That'd be quite notable. And you'll be seeing Trump later this week with Ms. Gabbard in Wisconsin.
Olivia Rinaldi, thank you.
I like that most of the right seems to be far higher on RFK than they are J.D. Vance. I've seen so many right-wingers say that they should replace J.D. Vance with RFK, which, hey, Trump, if you want to do that, I'm sure that would work out real well for you. But there might be complications to doing that, since RFK Jr. will remain on the ballot in both the states of Michigan and Wisconsin. Good job, dumb fuck. If you wanted to remove your name from battleground states in hopes of helping Trump win the election, you fucked up. If Harris wins both Michigan and Wisconsin, it's pretty much over. I think mathematically, Trump could, he could win Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And that would, but if she wins with Wisconsin, Michigan, and Nevada, I think that pretty much is the nail in the coffin. I'd have to look at the map on the 270, but I think if she wins Nevada, Wisconsin, and Michigan, even Trump winning Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona does not take him to 270. I believe, but don't hold me to that, because once again, I'm very bad at math.
But then you take my 75% chance of winning, and then add 66 and 2/3%. I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning.
RFK Jr. will still appear on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin despite suspending his presidential campaign, and could remain on the ballot in other critical battleground states, including Nevada and North Carolina. The former independent presidential candidate, who suspended his 2024 bid on Friday and endorsed former President Donald Trump, said he would take his name off the ballot in key states where he could hurt Republicans. However, his request to escape has already backfired in at least 2 swing states that could decide the election. In Michigan, it is too late for him to be removed. The Great Lakes state went to President Biden in 2020 by less than 3 percentage points. The commission based its decision on a Wisconsin law. Meanwhile, in the Wisconsin Election Commission also voted on Tuesday to deny Kennedy's request to remove him from the ballot. The commission based its decision on a Wisconsin law that says anyone who files nomination papers and qualifies to appear on the ballot cannot decline nomination. You're not going to be able to cut a deal with someone and play last-minute games, Democratic Commissioner Mark Thompson said, which is what I think is happening here. Frankly, we know Trump and Kennedy are playing games. Kennedy is also likely to face challenges removing his name from the ballot in other critical swing states such as Nevada and North Carolina. I don't think he's going to ditch J.D. Vance. He can't, because he absolutely needs J.D. Vance. Because he needs Peter Thiel's funding. The story that the right wing has been raving about for the last 2 days is the notion that Facebook somehow has been censoring them. Zuckerberg issuing a statement to Congress, I believe it was yesterday.
Welcome back to America Decides. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg says he will resist attempts from the White House to censor content on his social media platforms. Here's the key phrase, moving forward. This after previously being influenced by U.S. government officials. The tech billionaire submitted a letter to the House Judiciary Committee chairman, that's Jim Jordan, Republican from Ohio, saying he now regrets having bowed to what he called pressure, that's a direct quote, from the Biden administration to remove certain content, including posts related to COVID-19 and Hunter Biden. If not remove, at least put lower on the platform. His company, Meta, owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. The White House said in response, "We believe tech companies and other private actors should take into account the effects their actions have on the American people while making independent choices about the information they present." For more on this, let's bring in Jolene Kent. Jolene, that's a pretty benign or anodyne statement from the White House. Many people will look at what Mark Zuckerberg has now said to the House Judiciary Committee and say, hey, wait a minute, what happened and why isn't there more outcry?
Yeah, this is interesting because the letter was not published or shared by Mark Zuckerberg or Meta itself. Instead, it was shared by the GOP leadership of the House Judiciary Committee. And what the standout quote really is about what Mark Zuckerberg said happened during the pandemic. And he says, I believe the government pressure was wrong. He says that there were senior officials from the Biden administration that repeatedly pressured Meta to suppress this information about COVID-19 on its platform. He says that I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. And he added that Meta will not be bowing to pressure going forward and that he is ready to push back if something like this happens again. Facebook, Meta is no longer putting out any additional comment from this letter, but we do know that this comes after a House Judiciary investigation into the levels of censorship and expression that are allowed on social media platforms, not just Meta platforms, across the board. This letter was addressed to Republican Representative Jim Jordan on that front, but certainly Mark Zuckerberg tying up the letter major in a interesting way. He says in past cycles, he's given money for electoral infrastructure in a non-partisan way, given millions of dollars to donate to make voting more accessible for people. He says he will not be doing that again this cycle. He wants to maintain a neutral stance. He does not plan to endorse a presidential candidate. He did not endorse 4 years ago, and he doesn't want to give the appearance of anything but neutral as Meta, Facebook, Instagram try to navigate the waters ahead. Only 69 days to go, Major.
Nice.
Just for the audience's benefit and as a reminder,
69 days until the election.
On any social media platform, you give that platform the right to make decisions of this kind, do you not?
Well, it depends on what the agreements are. Terms of service for individuals like you and I and people who are watching are different than the agreements that are struck by publishers, say the New York Post. Of course, that article in question that was addressed in Zuckerberg's letter today was about Hunter Biden's laptop. There was an FBI warning that it might be Russian disinformation, and it turns out it was not. Zuckerberg says that he wishes he had not waited on the fact.
I don't understand why they're saying it's not Russian disinformation, because we have testimony from Lev Parnas that says it is. What? I don't understand. Yes, some of the contents on the laptop have been verified. A lot of right-wingers want to point to that. The FBI did not say the laptop itself is authentic. He said some of the contents on it are authentic.
Checkers, and he would have just essentially left the story alone. And so these kind of agreements are all different in nature. And what Meta and what Facebook and Instagram have tried to do lately is try to get out of the business of politics. But what's really protecting them, of course, is Section 230, that very important regulation that allows them not to be responsible for the content that's being shared on their platforms. And that's something that so many lawmakers in Washington on both sides of the aisle would like to see amended.
Yep,
Going forward, that
Nope.
Section 230 is really what could change the game in a lot of these debates when it comes to quote unquote censorship, demoting, downgrading content, or featuring it and putting it more prominently in the algorithm for you to see, Major.
Keywords, prominent.
You specifically, Major.
Algorithm. Jolene Kent, thank you very, very much.
Shut up, Major. Major Garrett with CBS News. Now, the whole Hunter Biden laptop thing sent Trump on a whole fury, truthing out. Hey, it's a good evening. Zuckerberg admits that the White House pushed to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story and much more. In other words, the 2020 presidential election was rigged. Fox News, New York Post, Rep. Laurel Lee, House Judiciary Committee. That was the truth that he sent out at 5:12 a.m. this morning. Can someone please remind us who was president in 2020? He literally says White House. Zuckerberg admits that the White House pushed to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. Donald Trump was in the White House in 2020. Now, Zuckerberg did not give any indication of exactly what the government, other than saying that like it might be Russian disinformation. Zuckerberg did not give any indication of anything that the Biden campaign tried to have them take down. As we found out with the Twitter files, which turned out to be a big bunch of nothing, the Biden campaign requested that Twitter enforce its revenge porn rules and take down 4 pictures of Hunter Biden's dick. That's all. Meanwhile, the actual White House, Trump, in the White House, demanded that Twitter take down a tweet from Chrissy Teigen, by the way, which called him a pussy-ass bitch. So you tell me which government was pressuring social media. But that doesn't stop these dumb fuck right-wingers. I'm sure this group that's pressing this lawsuit against the DOJ is funded by one of the 5 handfuls of billionaires that own our Supreme Court. The DOJ has been sued for stonewalling on secret surveillance records of congressional staff during Russiagate. The whistleblower group is suing the Department of Justice over its efforts to secretly surveil congressional staff conducting oversight on the FBI's Trump-Russia investigation. Empower Oversight, Whistleblowers, and Research, which I have never fucking heard of. Tristan Levitt. Who are you, Tristan Levitt? American attorney who is the president of Empower Oversight as of March 2023. He formerly served in several roles at the Merit Systems Protection Board. He's from Idaho Falls, went to Brigham Young University, is a member of the Republican Party, a candidate for the West Virginia House of Delegates. He looks fucking 20, by the way. So, there you go. Not an unbiased independent source, a Republican hackery group. They say the civil lawsuit filed on Tuesday that the DOJ has repeatedly stonewalled records requests involving the undisputed surveillance. Shelley, good evening. The suit seeks to force the Justice Department to hand over records related to the alleged unconstitutional surveillance after 5 earlier Freedom of Information Act requests between October 2023 and June 2024 for the documents were ignored. These records show the links to which DOJ was starting in 2016 to secretly surveil various congressional staff members of both political parties who were actively engaged in oversight of DOJ pursuant to their constitutional authorities, states the complaint. Started in 2016. Huh. The surveillance is undisputed as various third-party technology companies have alerted current and former congressional staff members that the companies received subpoenas for their staffers' communication records along with non-disclosure orders that prevented the companies from notifying the staff members. So they broke the NDAs. I'm assuming the DOJ is looking into foreign payoffs. If I had to guess, and maybe there's some congressional staffers that are violating Foreign Intelligence Act. Possibly. We're going to go to Texas, where Secretary of State Attorney General Ken Paxton, indicted over 5 years ago now at this point, raising questions, having civil rights groups saying he needs to be investigated for his possible illegal purge of voter rolls.
Uproar brewing in Texas with a voting rights organization calling for a federal investigation. The League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, is accusing the state's Republican Attorney General of voter intimidation after authorities raided the homes of its volunteers over allegations of voter fraud. CBS's Omar Villafranca spoke.
This is a nonpartisan group, too.
Homes were searched.
They scared the hell out of me.
87-year-old Lydia Martinez, who says she is LULAC's longest-serving volunteer, had her home raided as part of a voter fraud investigation by the Texas Attorney General.
We live in the United States of America. You're acting like a stapos. This is not Russia.
They searched this room.
Everything.
Martinez says up to 8 officers showed up at her home last Tuesday morning. They took her phone, her laptop, questioned her for hours, and made her wait outside.
I said, let me get dressed.
Wait, is she 87? Because she looks amazing for 87.
And she said, oh, go outside.
What were you wearing?
My nightgown, and I had all these policemen around me. It was embarrassing, humiliating. I was so angry. It was horrible.
The raid comes after State Attorney General Ken Paxton recently announced an investigation into allegations of election fraud and vote harvesting, which began in 2022. The Attorney General's office said it had found enough evidence to obtain search warrants, which they executed last Tuesday across 3 different counties. LULAC's president says this is voter suppression.
It is evident through his patterns of lawsuits, raids, searches, and seizures that he is trying to keep Latinos from voting.
Now, the organization is asking the Justice Department to investigate Paxton. In a letter first obtained by CBS News, they called his actions, quote, a serious violation of the civil rights of Latino citizens. Cecilia Castellano is running for a hotly contested state House seat and says officers executed a search warrant at her home.
Well, I believe that this is plain old politics, that the Republicans are just trying to suppress the voice of the Latino community, trying to suppress me. That's not going to happen.
We reached out to Paxton for comment, but did not hear back. Now, ProPublica report found that between January 2020 and September of 2022, Paxton's office opened up at least 390 cases for potential election crimes, but of those cases, only 5.
Texas will flip blue within the next decade. If not, it's not going to be this election probably. Next election or the election after, Texas is indeed going to flip blue. All you have to do is look at the margins for Donald Trump from 2016 to 2020, and it is very obvious.
5 led to conviction. Nora?
Omar Villafranca with that new reporting today. Thank you.
Notably, Israel's strike was not a surprise.
No, we're going to talk about Israel here in a second. We're not there yet. We're still on elections because Ken Paxton is not the only one in the country trying to do these fucking purges. I believe Virginia and North Carolina are both trying to as well. But we're going to go down to Georgia, where the Election Commission is being called into question.
Echo in Georgia for the removal of 3 members of our state's election board.
A new complaint by a Democratic state senator and others accuses the board's Republican members of passing laws to help Donald Trump win Georgia. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live tonight at the state capitol. So, Doug, all eyes are now on the governor on this.
Right, and that's because some of the critics here in the state of what the board is doing want him to launch a full investigation into these 3 board members, all Republicans. At the same time, supporters of these board members want the governor to just stay out of it. And this is, as you mentioned, all coming dangerously close to that November 5th presidential election.
This is not just unethical. It is illegal.
On Monday, Democratic State Senator Nabila Islam Parks and others put their names on a complaint alleging some members of Georgia's state election board are violating the law.
These violations are not just legal technicalities.
Did he record his voiceover next to an air conditioner? What was that noise?
They strike at the heart of our democracy.
Parks is accusing the board's 3 Republican members of holding a July 12th meeting without notifying the public, a violation of Georgia's Open Meetings Act, she says. The complaint also accuses the members of passing partisan laws to help Donald Trump win Georgia in 2024, one law that allows county officials to delay certification of election results.
Thank you. What a job. Thank you.
Came just weeks after Trump praised the 3 members by name at his Atlanta rally this month.
They're on fire. They're doing a great job. 3 members.
While Democrats said Monday that the actions amounted to voter suppression, supporters of the election board called it something else entirely.
This is a lot of political theater to psychologically program the base of their supporters.
Garland Favorito, the group Voter GA, says the election board's 3 GOP members are partisan, appointed as Republicans.
The state election board has done nothing that is inconsistent with Georgia law.
The ethics complaint calls on Georgia Governor Brian Kemp to appoint a judge and hold investigatory hearings over the removal of the 3 members in question.
We call upon him to do so, and we call upon him to do so forthwith.
And we were in touch with the governor's office today. They said,
no, he recorded it right out there. now that I hear his stand-up, he recorded it there.
That they had received the complaint and gotten a good look at it. However, they said the governor's authority to call investigations like this was, in their words, uncertain, so they've reached out to the Attorney General's office for guidance. Outside the state capitol, Doug Reardon, Atlanta News First.
He got tangled up in my headphones. A little smoky butt for you. Let's keep it in Georgia, where the opponent for Fulton County District Attorney, Fannie Willis, is promising to end the Young Thug trial if elected. Courtney Kramer challenged the Fulton County District Attorney to dismiss the case and release those being held without bond. Oh, no, I can't read. Okay, cool. The Republican running to unseat Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fannie Willis promised to end the prosecution of Young Thug and the YSL trial if elected in November. In a statement released on Tuesday, Courtney Kramer said dismissing the YSL case would be her first official action if elected. She also challenged Willis to dismiss the case immediately and release the accused who are being held without bond. Why? Kramer criticized the Fulton County DA's office handling of the high-profile case, which has dragged on for more than 2 years now and has already become the longest criminal trial in Georgia state history, and is apparently expected to go until 2027, as is, and has been delayed multiple times in the last few months. With no apparent justice in sight, I have become highly concerned and disappointed in the lack of prosecutorial oversight in this case. As time goes on, the public has witnessed a trial that is undoubtedly over-prosecuted by attorneys who have repeatedly been admonished for lack of trial preparation, a complete and utter waste of the court's time. Kramer went on to say she was dumbfounded as to the motives for spending taxpayer money on a prosecution that is based almost entirely on witnesses with little to no credibility. Other rappers. Not only have I lost any ounce of faith that justice isn't... I can't see because Smokey just walked in front of the monitor. All right. He's situated now. Not only have I lost any ounce of faith that justice is in fact being served and the people of Fulton County are being advocated for in an ethical and transparent manner, but the case should have ended by now. Even former DA Paul Howard declined to bring this case, and now the public can see why. The Willis campaign did not immediately return Rolling Stone's request for comment. Once again, Young Thug is guilty, but the judge has also been railroading him, so I don't know. I'm rooting for Young Thug, I guess. The whole thing has been wild. We'll check back in with it. It is getting started again. They've been back because they had to get a new judge. The judge got booted from the case. They've got a sounds kinky. We're going to go ahead and take a commercial break on the Twitch. When we come back, we're going to do our foreign affairs. We're going to talk about the mess that Emmanuel Macron has made of France. Vladimir Zelensky is proposing a peace plan. We've got video of the IDF rescuing a hostage from a Hamas tunnel. All kinds of wild cop news. We got carjackers stealing a Lambo, stealing a Ferrari, stealing a Rolls Royce. We've got a naked man terrorizing LA and a man arrested for lemonade larceny. All that and a lot freaking more on the other side of the break. Don't go anywhere. You're on the Troll Patrol live. Let's get high. Flash, my man, how you doing? You are I love that you will break down individual arguments on YouTube videos. Thank you for that, my friend. Also, are you the account Hogwatch on Twitter? I never put two and two together. Yeah. You said it was like the exact same statement you made. And I was like, oh shit, that's Flash. I like the Hogwatch account. We need to make that one bigger. That one's got legs, my friend. You could be a libs of TikTok for the left kind of deal. Yeah, but who knows what they're doing? I'm not JustinFREAKIN on Twitter. I'm Mr. JustinFREAKIN because JustinFREAKIN was taken. But that motherfucker has never posted anything. The account was created in like 2009. And I can't get it. Flash, are you not a mod? I would have guessed you were. You are now, except the sword. Elon had made a declaration that he was going to eliminate inactive accounts. And I'm like, please, please let me be JustinFREAKIN. I want to be at JustinFREAKIN instead of at Mr. JustinFREAKIN. Because I'm JustinFREAKIN on everything else. I have the name on everything but Twitter. So fuck you, Twitter. Not that Mr. JustinFREAKIN is bad. We're back from commercial break now. Oh my God, are you not a mod on any other channel? You don't know what the mod screen does? You got powers over there. I don't usually, anytime I've been in somebody else's channel that I'm a mod, whenever something happens that I need to, like, I'm not usually watching the mod screen. So by the time I get to the mod screen to be like, you know, let's boot this guy, somebody else has done it for me. You can't ban Warlord. That is not a thing that you will be able to do. Also, for those of you unaware, I don't actually know Warlord. I just gave a complete stranger power over my everything. He has power over my channel, over my Discord. He can honestly hijack the whole fucking thing and may one day do it. If he's gonna do that, he's playing the long game. And remember, he is a conservative. He is literally a Tory. Also, apparently a Panic at the Disco fan. Has made fun of me for everything I listen to. Panic at the Disco come on, and he was like, finally some good music. I was like, that was not what I was expecting. Let's go to international news. Over in France, Emmanuel Macron would rather hand power over to the far right than allow the duly elected left to govern.
The political quagmire here in France has just become a little bit deeper and more sticky this Monday, under pressure to appoint a new prime minister. The French President Emmanuel Macron met with the lead faces, there they are, of the far right, Marine Le Pen, Jordan Bardella. They both said they wouldn't work with a leader of the government who'd been appointed from the political left. Now, it's worth pointing out Le Pen's national rally polled third place in July's decisive second round of the legislative elections in France. The New Popular Front, or the United Left, finished top. The key thing is, though, there was no overall majority.
Another busy day for the French president, who has hosted a string of party leaders at the Élysée since Friday in hopes of finding a candidate for prime minister that would not immediately be toppled in a confidence vote. But that is exactly what the far-right's Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella said they planned on doing if the candidate and the government came from the left-wing New Popular Front.
So we've asked for an extraordinary session to be opened so that the Prime Minister, whoever it is, can appear before the National Assembly.
The new Popular Front and its programme, movement and figures that personify it today represents a danger. We will defend the country from a government that will divide French society.
You're the danger, fucker!
A position also expressed by some of Emmanuel Macron's allies and the leader of the conservative Les Républicains party.
Any prime minister from one of the four parties of the new Popular Front will be subject to an immediate no-confidence vote by the MPs in my group.
The National Assembly is largely split between three blocs, with none close to a majority. But as the largest of the three, the left-wing New Popular Front argues that it should form the government. It has asked Macron to consider 37-year-old economist and civil servant Lucie Caster as head of government.
We therefore ask that the new Popular
She's a fucking economist! Sounds perfect to me!
Front government be allowed to work, to set up a budget exercise, and then to leave it to the French people to judge.
Over the weekend, as a compromise, hard-left France Unbowed leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon said that the government would not have to include his party members, a key objection of the right and centre. The pressure is mounting on Macron, who has now left a caretaker government in place for an unprecedented period, and with the deadline to present a draft 2020.
She's probably a sock dim, yep.
Just over a month away.
A penny for his thoughts is what you might say as that report by Emerald Maxwell ends. And here for your analysis in the studio, we're joined by Hind Zian, founder and CEO of Génération Politique Hind. French politics appears to be eating itself right now. Is that a fair assessment?
I think it is a fair assessment. We're at a very critical point in French politics. The past few days, the past few weeks have been pretty strange, I would say, to all French people and also to international observers. I think a lot of us are just expecting a lot of instability, a lot of hardships and difficulty, but it seems like the president still wants to take his time to get us to a stable government. And the question is...
Instability and hardships because we want to block the left from taking power.
Can we really get to that stable government? Because the National Assembly is so divided, and it's been so ever since the last elections. Can we get there? That's the big question for me.
The left group finished top after the second round of the legislative elections. The third place national rally, the far right, are saying they won't work with someone from the left. How can they say that? That's the question I'm asking myself.
So yeah, the question here for me is that it looks like everybody's in it for himself or for themselves. It's like, I'm not going to vote for him. We're going to sign a no confidence vote or a motion of no confidence. And so it just feels like...
I don't know what the numbers are, but if the Liberals, Macron's party, don't vote no confidence, then wouldn't that fix the issue? Like, it's literally the Liberals that are holding this up, right?
We have had those elections that were extremely unexpected for everybody, and then we're at a point where, and I think it's fair to say it, we're at a sort of something like that looks like a mess, you know. And so what I think is also interesting is to look back at the other points in our history where we've had a situation that's similar to the one that we have today. So we've had three big situations in '86, in '97, and I believe I forgot the third date, but we've had three of them, you know. And
happened before you were born.
Today, it looks like it's going to be difficult to have either side. It's going to be difficult to govern either way for the next year. And the French Constitution says that you can't dissolve Parliament another time before next year. So I don't really see any other option here for the president or for President Macron other than just getting by for a year, hoping that there's not too much instability and hoping for better days to come after a year.
You mentioned the Constitution. People are clinging to that. When the results of the legislative elections came in on July the 7th, people were talking about Macron now being a lame duck president. Canard boiteux is the phrase in French. It's funny how it's now looking like the whole system is the lame duck, and there's the president trying to basically wring his hands and find a way ahead. Do you think Macron in some way is... I'll say it. Do you think he's enjoying what's going on? Do you think he's actually getting some kind of sense of satisfaction out of it?
Is he a winner of what's happening? Part of it is, I would say yes, part of it. But I would say that the biggest loser is France itself.
The French people.
If you look at the way politics is working out today, if you look at the way institutions are working today, it's just a display of utter mess to the French people. French people, and we've worked about this a lot on the ground, who already are extremely defiant of French politics, of French politicians. So I think maybe part of him, because he's a politician and he's been doing this for some time, part of him is thinking, okay, I want to win this, and I have those adversaries, and I have those enemies in politics, and I want to win against them. But the question for me is more like, who's the loser here? And the loser is probably the country and the French people.
And from the way you look at politics, I mean, clearly there will be some people who will feel more and more disillusioned about what they're seeing. And I'm thinking maybe young voters or those about to sort of turn of the age when they can vote, they'll look at the system and think, hang on a minute.
That's some fire.
This isn't for me. This is just chaos.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think young people, there's a lot of young people who are very disengaged, who there's a lot of apathy about politics, especially here in France. It's just insane to think that there's a whole new generation that can be.
She is Hind Ziane, founder and CEO of Generation Politique.
Just a driving force for politics that can really help politicians change the way we do politics and be closer to citizens, closer to people, and really delivering with a lot of efficiency, of government-led efficiency. But we're not getting there because there's just so much disillusionment, and young people, but just people in general are just kind of sick of the general atmosphere, of the general environment. But this is true for France, but also for a lot of Western democracies. So I think we also have to ask ourselves the question is, do we want to get there? Do we want to go to a point where it's just like nobody cares about politics, or at least everybody's so disappointed in it that they're not doing anything actively for the political sphere, the city that we all share together. So it's extremely saddening for the future, but I think there are solutions. There can be solutions. I just hope that our political leaders are going to take that path for the next days and the next months and years.
Indeed. I said at the start of this, a penny for the thoughts of President Macron, or a centime. Maybe we could, sort of try to get inside his head. What do you think he's going to be thinking? I mean, once upon a time, after the first round of the legislative elections, one thought there was going to be a far-right government. That was erased as an idea by the banding together of the parties to block that, which is a traditional French move to keep the far-right out of power, that philosophy going way back to the Second World War when France was under Nazi occupation. So that's the little history lesson. Let's get right up to date now and think about what Macron can do next. What would it be? But is he going to just basically sweat this out and maybe just appoint his own man? Would we see Attal prolonged as Prime Minister, do you think?
I think I honestly think the country needs a government as soon as we can, and he can get us one. But I believe that part of it is really also about him stating to all his political adversaries that he's the guy, he's the leader. And the fact is also that in France, under the French Constitution, today's 1958 Constitution, well, he is the one who calls the shots, and that we've been seeing this for a couple of weeks now, for a couple of days now. So he's probably going to try to walk on this path, but the part of it, at least if you look back at the interview he made a couple of weeks ago, it was just before the Olympics, the opening ceremony. What he said was, what I want is to give the country a government that's not going to fall in the next 3 days, And I believe, at least that's what he says, and I hope he's very sincere about that. I believe that's what he's going to get. So it's probably, he said, it's not going to be a left-wing government, but it's probably going to be a government that is going to at least keep up the momentum for him and his party from now on. And on the other hand, what I kind of think about is that also he can't just get somebody who is too close to him, because otherwise people are going to feel like they've been totally fooled. And he still has 3 years to stay, so he's going to have to manage all of those specifics about French politics, like finding somebody who's not going to get overthrown in the next 3 days after being selected is an extremely hard challenge, because if you look at the math, it's very simple. You got to get 289 to get an absolute majority. If you look at the math, it's not adding up. So what is he going to do? I think at least what we know is what he's not going to do, and what he's not going to do is pick someone from the left.
Hind, thank you very much indeed. Pleasure speaking to you, and interesting to consider all the options, and there are many more out there. Hind Ziad, founder and CEO of Génération Politique, thank you for calling in here, France 24, and speaking to us. We appreciate your time, and we value Hind's analysis. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
That was France 24 English. That was an incredibly good report. They did not mention impeachment, but that has been something that has been thrown around, impeaching Macron. And I've got to wonder that if there is a mass movement in the streets, burning shit and attacking the police, if impeachment might be on the table. But I also don't know much about France. I do know that apparently Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is wanting to propose a peace deal as Russia continues its counteroffensive.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky revealed on Tuesday he has a plan he wants to present to US President Joe Biden, which he believes will end Russia.
Welcome, good evening.
One part of the plan that is already performed is in the Kursk region. The second part is Ukraine's strategic place in the world's security infrastructure. The third part is a pressure package, a powerful package to force Russia to end the war diplomatically. The fourth part is economic.
What's with the polo?
He said it would eventually end in dialogue, but that Kyiv had to be in a strong position. There was no indication of what the next steps would be, but he said he was hoping to attend the UN General Assembly in New York in September and that he was preparing to meet Biden. The comments come as several people are dead and multiple injured after Russia continued major missile and drone attacks across Ukraine regions for a second day, officials said on Tuesday. 2 people were killed when this hotel was hit by a missile in the central city of Kryvyi Rih. Just the frame of the building remained as rescuers combed through the rubble. In the southeastern city of Zaporizhia, 3 died in a drone attack, with 3 others injured in the region. The strike comes a day after Russia pummeled Ukrainian energy infrastructure with more than 200 missiles and drones on Monday in its biggest air attack of the war. While Tuesday's barrage was smaller, in the capital Kyiv, the military administration said air defences shot down all incoming targets aimed at the city. Zelensky said on Tuesday that Kyiv would retaliate against Russia for its strikes. He asked allies to consider joint air defense operations and provide long-range capabilities. The Russian Defense Ministry said forces had carried out a high-precision weapon strike on Ukraine overnight, the Interfax news agency reported. Moscow denies targeting civilians since launching a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, although thousands have been killed. Several Russian military bloggers said Moscow's attacks were an act of retaliation for Ukraine's surprise incursion into Russia's western Kursk region, the first such action since World War II.
Well, we'll see. Wearing a polo instead of his military outfit. Just an observation. Does he only wear that when he's over here? We've got footage out of Israel. The IDF apparently rescued an Israeli hostage from a Hamas tunnel. Dude looks like my dad. Well, I guess by proxy, me. You've always got to be suspicious of IDF propaganda. What was with the blankets? There's just something that looks weird about all this. This doesn't seem like a rescue operation to me. Does it you? Oh no. Well, every other hostage we've seen has been well taken care of. Remember the ladies? They seemed really enamored with their captors when they were like telling them goodbye and everything. It's very wild footage. So he clearly wasn't being beaten or anything if he was indeed a hostage. Unlike the people that the IDF is holding who are being like gang raped. By the way, I condemn the actions of the IDF.
We condemn.
You shouldn't trust anything out of Israel. All right, we're getting to the crime section of the show. Some people don't like all the gore and crime porn, so I want to give you the heads up. We'll be talking about carjackings by the time we get to about 9:30. Give us about 20 minutes. We'll be down to the carjackings and the fun stuff. But the next couple of stories might be a little hairy. A female student at Rice University in Texas killed in her dorm room on the first day of classes. Police found a note written by the suspect at the scene. So this is the police chief.
A heartbreaking discovery at Rice University this afternoon. A female student found shot to death in her dorm room. A young man also dead, police say, with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He has not been named, but is not a student, the university says. The victim, Junior Andrea Rodriguez Avila of Maryland.
We are communicating with Andrea's parents and are flying them out early tomorrow morning.
According to Rice University police, Andrea missed her classes Monday and a family member could not reach her. The relative requested a welfare check at her Jones College room, and around 4:30 p.m., the couple was found along with a note believed written by the shooter. Police Chief Clemente Rodriguez says they had a dating relationship.
In general terms, it was a lot about their relationship, and then obviously they were having a troubled relationship at this time.
The discovery triggered a shelter in place. The university canceled classes through Tuesday and reminded students of counseling resources available now and in the future.
Tonight, I want all of our students, our parents, and the entire Rice community to know that the Rice campus is safe and there is no immediate threat. And tonight, we will wrap our arms around our students.
Little piece of shit couldn't take getting broken up with. Curious, sir. Good evening. A couple months ago, we did a story about a sheriff's deputy going to the wrong apartment. An active duty airman answered the door because it was being pounded on. He had his gun at his side. The cop shot him almost immediately and killed him. I at least have some good news for you about that tonight. Authorities arrest ex-sheriff's deputy who fatally shot a black airman at his home. A former Florida sheriff's deputy has been charged with the killing of a black U.S. Air Force senior airman who answered his apartment door while holding a gun pointed toward the ground. Former Okaloosa County Deputy Eddie Duran, 38, was charged with manslaughter with a firearm in the May 3rd shooting death of 23-year-old Roger Fortson. Assistant State Attorney Greg Marcille announced on Friday the charge is a first-degree felony punishable by up to 30 years in prison. Duran was booked into the county jail on Monday. Marcille confirmed his arrest to the Associated Press. He did, in fact, turn himself in. Marcille said in a telephone interview, adding that Duran's initial court appearance will be videoed on Tuesday morning. He will be held in custody pending his initial appearance. So, update, he was denied bond. He's going to remain in custody. An attorney representing Duran did not immediately respond to an email seeking comment. Authorities say Duran had been directed to Fortson's Fort Walton Beach apartment in response to a domestic disturbance that turned out to be false. After repeated knocking, Fortson opened the door while holding his handgun at his side pointed down. Authorities say that Duran shot him multiple times. Only then did he tell Fortson to drop the gun. On Friday, the day the charge was announced, candles and framed photos of Fortson in uniform graced the doorway of the apartment where he was killed. According to the Internal Affairs report of the shooting, Duran told investigators that when Fortson opened the door, he saw aggression in the airman's eyes. Maybe because you were pounding on his fucking door and he had done nothing wrong. He said he fired because I'm standing there thinking I'm about to get shot. I'm about to die. It should have been you, motherfucker. We could have added another good cop to the list. Okaloosa Sheriff Eric Aiden fired Duran on May 31st after the internal investigation concluded his life was not in danger when he opened the door. Outside law enforcement experts have also said that an officer cannot shoot only because a possible suspect is holding a gun if there is no threat. Duran is a law enforcement veteran, starting as a military police officer in the Army. He joined the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office in July of 2019, but resigned 2 years later, saying his wife, a nurse, had been transferred to a naval hospital out of the area. He rejoined the Sheriff's Office in June of 2023. Prometheus, good evening. We do indeed have news of at least one good cop. This happened in San Diego. Apparently a crash occurred this morning. One officer killed a second officer in the hospital. This is the video. God damn.
Right now, a San Diego Police Department officer sadly is dead, and another fighting for their life in the hospital.
I believe he's died.
Crash overnight, a suspect's car rammed into the SDPD SUV. We have continuing coverage of this tragic incident. So glad you're with us on this Tuesday. I'm Eric Connor.
And I'm Nada Irampour. There are still many questions about what led up to this fiery crash. We have team coverage for you. We're covering all angles on this developing story here. CBS 8's Chris Groh live outside of Sharp Hospital, where one officer is in critical condition right now. Regina Yorita at the medical examiner's office, where some officers gathered to mourn today.
But first, let's check in with CBS 8's Kelly Hessedal to learn what led up to this incident. So many questions remain here, Kelly.
That's right. You know, we're at the 5200 block of Claremont Mesa Boulevard. This is typically a busy area, but it is blocked off this morning. If you take a look behind me, you can still see.
The suspect died at the hospital. Apparently, the other cop is still alive, but in critical condition still.
That burned police SUV out here at the scene. You can see several yellow evidence markers nearby. So there were a total of 4 cars involved in this accident. You can see some of them are still out here. There were also witnesses who ran to help. In fact, one of our own CBS 8 photographers was leaving the station not far from here last night when he saw the police vehicle burst into flames in his rearview mirror. And so here's what the scene looked like just after 11:30 last night, just moments after this deadly collision. You see the flames, the firefighters using hoses to try and put out the burning police SUV. You could feel the tension in the air. Now, at one point, there was a bystander who tried to throw water on the car with a water bottle, but officers quickly pushed him back. So here's what we know so far. According to Chief Scott Wall, police tried to stop a speeding car. The driver refused to pull over. There was a short pursuit, but because the suspect's car was going so fast, a supervisor called it off. Now,
Dumb fuck tried to throw water on a burning car with a water bottle. Are you fucking serious?
everything unfolded so quickly that two officers who were responding to this scene ended up colliding with the suspect's car. The officer driving the police vehicle died. The officer in the passenger seat is now fighting for his life at the hospital, and the suspect, we're told, died as well. So two other cars were also involved in this crash. We're told the drivers are all okay. This morning, loved ones of the fallen officer were out here at the scene. They were hugging, they were crying. You can imagine how
welcome
them, how heavy their hearts are today. At this point, the department has not officially released the names of the officer who died or the one who was critically injured. So back out here live at the scene. Now, because of the emotion behind all of this, SDPD, that is, has asked the CHB to conduct an independent investigation into exactly what happened. So still a lot of questions. But what I can tell you
imagine the guy's hope
is mourning and certainly praying for the recovery of that second officer. For more on that part of all of this, let's go to my colleague Chris Groh, who is live at Sharp Hospital. Chris, what can you tell us?
Well, this was this morning. The cop is still in critical condition. The suspect and the cop that was driving the car that the suspect rammed into, both dead. What a fucking scene. Wild video. It's been a fiery day in California. In LA, a commercial building caught fire, burned for a good portion of the day.
Commercial structure fire here in downtown LA. This is the 600 block of Kohler Street between 6th and 7th Street. LA City Fire getting the call about 1:50 this afternoon of this structure fire. When they arrived, they had smoke and flames showing from the building, and also there was multiple explosions that kept them from getting into the building itself to fight the fire. They went into a defensive mode where they surround the building and pour tons and tons of water onto the fire in hopes they can knock it down.
With a water bottle?
The roof looks like it's going to be a complete loss. They're concerned about...
I think the whole thing's going to be a complete loss, Chris.
That roof is lost, fully lost.
Pretty sure this is Chris Christie.
With that, the roof, once the roof burns through, it does compromise the walls, but it makes it easier for the firefighters to hit the flames with those heavy streams from above. Now, right now, they backed off on some of those, most of those, actually all of those ladder pipes there. They've shut them down. And
Yep, I'm pretty sure that building, complete loss.
It will be an advantage for firefighters to continue to fight that fire from a defensive posture. You see the firefighters on the roof here to the south. They're doing what they can to minimize the smoke and flames. But let me come out to a wide shot, show you not only the streets are shut down, 6th Street, 7th Street, Kohler is shut down, and the smoke that's billowing up from this pushing off towards the Boyle Heights area.
Damn. Oh, that ended abruptly. All right, we're done with the gruesome part of the show. I don't know how I feel about carjackers when they're going after people that are driving Rolls Royces and Ferraris. A carjacking happened at a Southern California mall.
Developing news, masked men opened fire while trying to carjack a Ferrari and a Rolls Royce. outside an upscale Orange County mall. Police say that one of 3 masked men fired shots during that altercation.
KTLA 5's Lauren Lister is live in Newport Beach with those details. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Lou. I was just messaging with one of
No, hi, Justin.
Doesn't want to be identified and doesn't.
Oh, my chopped liver.
He did tell me that he and his friend had just eaten. They were back at their cars in the parking lot here at Fashion Island, just hanging out a little bit when they were robbed at gunpoint. Take a look. Here is the aftermath. What you're going to see in this video is the parking lot when it was a police scene after authorities have responded, and you're going to see a white Rolls-Royce SUV in this video. Newport Beach police say one man was in that car when just before 11:30.
That's ugly. How much that motherfucker cost? Couple $100,000?
Last night, 3 guys wearing ski masks, one with a handgun, robbed him of his wallet and his watch. His friend was in a yellow Ferrari. The thieves tried to carjack him, but he got away. Next, this to a nearby gas station. Surveillance video capturing the moments when the Ferrari driver fled to the Chevron at PCH and
105K.
It's down the road from Fashion Island. This is the security video that
Is that the base though? It could be upwards of 200K.
captured him as he pulls up and goes into the tell workers that he was, to sort of figure out what's going on. They say he was a little frantic, realized his arm was injured from the shattered glass after being shot at. Police say an armed suspect opened fire at least once, striking and shattering his car's window back when he was at the mall. And he then called police. As you see, they showed up taping off the scene for a time. We can go to that video. It was a little later. They interviewed him.
501K. God damn. Fuck! 501K for that Rolls Royce SUV. That ugly fucking thing. The Ferrari's a little different. Bronk. I just got a Ferrari on Gran Turismo that I absolutely love, and I like that is the car I'm using on like every race I possibly can now. So I'm like, I'm into Ferraris now, I guess, because that car drives like a dream.
Newport Beach residents who are shaken up by the crime happening at their go-to mall.
I wish people would just do something else to get money.
The fact that it's so close to home and it's been so often is frightening.
What was that? So some people just saying it's so close to home. Now, last night's robbery comes just 2 months after a 69-year-old woman from New Zealand was run over and killed by 3 suspects who fled the scene after a botched robbery at the mall. Shots were fired then. It sent shoppers running for their lives because it was during mall hours in that one. The 3 suspects in that case were arrested after leading police on a high-speed chase into Los Angeles.
I mean, I assume people at the mall, it's mall hours.
The DA's office says they could face the death penalty. Back out here live, we have reached out to the DA today. He's not commenting. We also reached out to the Newport Beach mayor. He's not doing interviews either at this time. As far as the suspects, police say they are looking for these 3 guys who fled, they believe, in a blue Kia sedan. That's the latest live here in Newport Beach. I'm Lauren Lister. I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Not the only carjacking of a high-end car. I like the Ferrari, not a big fan of Lambos myself. We're going to the other coast. This one happened in New York, where a group of men beat and kidnapped a husband and wife and stole their Lamborghini.
This afternoon with scary moments for a husband and wife in Connecticut. Police say they were kidnapped by a group of men targeted because of the car they were driving on the way to go house hunting. And good afternoon to you. I'm Liz Cho.
I'm David Navarro. New surveillance video captures the van speeding away from the scene. Police say the victims were in the back of that van, bound with duct tape. One of them had been assaulted.
Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis is live in Danbury with the very latest on this frightening story, Marcus.
Dougie.
Well, Liz and David, this was a crazy scene the way it unfolded. That van was coming down that hill, tried to negotiate the turn here, lost control, skidded out. You can see where it took out this sign. Police say they were aided by a witness who called 911, not only reported the assault that he had seen, but also followed that van until it crashed and police made that startling discovery. Surveillance video shows the van racing down Clapboard Ridge Road Sunday, at one point going across the double yellow line, nearly hitting an oncoming Subaru driven by Carly Batista.
Literally, if I didn't swerve, he would have hit me like on the driver's side, like head on. And with how fast like the car was going, I probably would have ended up in the ICU or something. Like it was that like, oh my gosh, like I got really scared.
That van eventually crashed, the suspects taking off on foot. But inside the vehicle, Danbury police found a husband and wife in the...
Didn't we just have something that happened in Danbury, like, just a few days ago? I guess it'd be a few weeks ago now.
Their 50s with duct tape around their hands and feet. The man's eyes were also covered with tape, and the victims were in...
And didn't you mention something about that, Ducky?
All indications, the male victim was pretty bruised, pretty swollen. And yeah, they indicated that they were struck with the bat several times.
The incident unfolded when the victims pulled up to a gated community in their Lamborghini. The car was purposely rear-ended and the couple surrounded by 3 other vehicles. A witness called police who eventually found the van crashed on Copperwaith Road. The stolen Lamborghini and other 2 suspect cars were also found. 6 suspects have been arrested. All are from Florida with no obvious connection to the victims.
We've did a lot of background work on them, but at this time it doesn't seem that they have any connections to the Northeast. They're all from Miami, Florida guys.
And those suspects range in age from 18 years old to 26. They've been arraigned on a laundry list of charges, including kidnapping and assault. As for the victims, they are recovering. Their injuries are not life-threatening. And we're live in Danbury. Marcus Solis, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
That is wild. I assume if you're going to steal a Lambo, you're going to take it to a chop shop, right? But if they're from Florida, how do they know where a chop shop is in New York? Unless they're being directed by, like, this some kind of crime ring or something. Maybe they were part of the same crime ring that this woman was a part of. Arrested for carjacking, she had something to say to the cameras when she appeared in court.
Closer to home, a woman accused in a South Memphis carjacking over the weekend was in court this morning. 21-year-old Asia Shell is charged with carjacking, aggravated robbery, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor since a 16-year-old boy was reportedly with her. Thank you for joining us. I'm April Thompson. Alex is on assignment. As WRAG's Jarita Patterson shows us, Shell faced a judge as well as our cameras this morning.
Asia Shell making it clear she was not happy to see our cameras Tuesday morning. Behind what we have blurred was a single finger flip followed by a double.
How much listening do you have? Take it one step at a time.
There was also the back and forth with the judge.
You're shaking your head. No, that's not the way to do this.
Recently, Shell was arrested for theft. Bond was granted, but according to the judge, she failed to return to court, leading to arrest warrants being issued. Despite being a woman wanted by the court, it's alleged Shell, with the help of a 16-year-old, robbed a man this past weekend at this gas station along Elvis Presley Boulevard.
She was already out on bond, failed to appear, and then did a carjacking over the weekend.
Investigators say the 21-year-old with her teenage accomplice approached the victim as he was pumping gas. The two are said to have been armed with a rifle, demanding the victim's keys, driving away in the victim's Jeep.
Police haven't said much about
the
investigation, but there is the possibility, something Asia Shell doesn't seem to be fond of, cameras may have helped detectives.
Several hours after the carjacking, police say Shell and the 16-year-old were discovered hiding out in a storage shed. Back here in court, a public defender was previously appointed, but who will represent the 21-year-old on the newest case is unknown. As she told the court, a, quote, friend guy was working to hire an attorney.
Now, are you asking me to hold off appointing a lawyer for you until you can talk to your guy friends?
Back to lockup is where she's headed, but not before giving us, yet again, several one-fifth. For your news leader inside the CJC, Jarita Patterson, WREG, News Channel 3.
And no word if the juvenile could be charged as an adult. Asia Shell is back in court.
It's Tennessee, probably. Hearing. Average guy. You know, that's what I call Trump derangement syndrome. When you come in, we're not talking about anything having to do with Trump. And you got to make it about Trump. This is why I call right wingers fucking morons. Hope you're doing well tonight, though, my friend. Gonna head up to New York again, where burglars apparently robbed a newsstand, hopped a bus, and went and robbed another one.
Police in Manhattan are investigating 2 separate robberies at newsstands, and they want to know if they're connected. The first happened on the Upper East Side. 2 robbers assaulting a worker and took off with cash and lotto tickets. Then just 20 minutes later on the Upper West Side, a similar robbery of another newsstand worker. This one hit over the head with a gun. Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett live on the Upper West Side with more. NJ.
And right, Dave, it may be the last time of day, the last place you would expect a gunpoint robbery, 81st and Columbus. As you said, 2 thieves who may have struck an Upper East Side newsstand less than half an hour earlier. Shah Hussein was robbed at gunpoint in the middle of the afternoon.
I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. It's not safe here. The New York City is a very difficult here.
He was working in his tiny newsstand at 81st Street and Columbus Avenue, just steps from the Museum of Natural History, when thieves pushed their way inside at 1:05 yesterday afternoon.
Sunday,
Nathan
coming and pass here. I fell down.
He says the 2 men wearing masks and hooded sweatshirts roughed him up before stealing roughly $3,000 in cash. NYPD did.
Wait, what? Why's he got $3,000 in cash on him? Why is there a door that you can get in that easily?
Detectives say that exactly 23 minutes earlier, 2 men robbed this newsstand on 79th Street, just west of York Avenue. That victim asked not to appear on camera, but police say those thieves escaped with $1,100 in cash and lottery tickets. Investigators now believe the men may have boarded the M79 bus and traveled across Manhattan, where they robbed Shah. As word spread throughout the neighborhood, his customers expressed condolences, reacting with disbelief.
And I know the man here. I see him almost every day, and he's a nice man, and I felt bad that it happened to him. You know, I just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, fair enough, clinically.
And Shaw tells me it's not the first time. He says he...
I would just assume they're cashing out multiple times throughout the day, but they're probably not got enough workers. It's just one man manning that booth, isn't it? Nobody to run to the bank and take the enormous amount of cash. What? Like, it looked like that door was open there. You wouldn't think you'd be able to get in through the side.
Was robbed earlier this year. Same MO, quite possibly by the same 2 guys. No arrest, no known suspects in these latest cases, at least not so far. Live on the Upper West Side, and Jay Burkett, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
You mean they don't have surveillance video? Right across from the Museum of Natural History, they don't have surveillance video in New fucking York. Back about 10 years ago, this guy went viral for appearing in court. Apparently, the judge was a woman he had went to school with. And they had like some kind of touching moment, and it went viral. He is back in court, apparently facing very similar charges.
This is the nicest kid in middle school. Oh my goodness.
You may remember this emotional reunion between a Miami judge and a burglary suspect. Nearly 10 years later, he's arrested again for another string of robberies. Police say one of his victims is an 85-year-old man. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Trina Robinson.
And I'm Juan Strader. Good evening to you. That's right. This is a story that we told you about some time ago. Lorena and Klein spoke exclusively to an 85-year-old, the suspect that he's accused of stealing from. Lorena and Klein is live from Miami-Dade County Jail with more. And Lorena, the suspect is no stranger to police.
You need to quit, Nathan.
He is not, Juwan, and as you showed there, he is known to the judges here.
I don't mention it very much, but like I used to be a smoker. I've been smoke-free. I guess it'd be about 2017. I was getting ready to say coming up on 10 years. If you need any advice or encouragement, I'm here for you.
Story getting national attention a few years ago when a judge recognized him as one of her former classmates. Tonight, that man stands accused.
I love that Dougie's like, if I'd known that the cigarettes weren't going to go up as much, I would have kept smoking.
Of even more crimes, at least one of them involving an elderly victim. 85-year-old Eduardo was relieved to learn the man who police say robbed him of his gold chain is now in jail. Miami PD says on August 8th, someone knocked on Eduardo's door on West Flagler Street, pretending to be a plumber. Eduardo explains that the man asked him to open his bathtub's faucet, and as he bent over to open that faucet, the thief yanked his gold chain right off his neck and took off running.
That's all?
He tried his best to run after him, but couldn't catch up. 58-year-old Arthur Nathaniel Booth is the man police say is responsible for robbing Eduardo and 2 other victims in the month of August alone. If
really wanted that chain.
Familiar, it's because he's the same man whose story went viral back in 2015 when Judge Mindy Glazer recognized him as her former middle school classmate. Back then, he was facing several charges, including burglary and grand theft.
Play football with him, all the kids, and look what has happened.
The encounter moved Booth to tears. Judge Glazer had this message for him back then.
I hope you're able to come out of this okay and just lead a lawful life.
But police say his actions were anything but lawful. Booth was back before a different judge this time last Thursday, where he was charged with several counts of burglary and assault. As for Eduardo, he hopes he can recover his gold chain that had a St. Lazarus pendant on it. He tells me it was a gift from Cuba and carried sentimental value. Now, the detectives, they were able to track the suspect.
Clinically called it.
Surveillance camera, and in their report, the detectives also found that the suspect had pawned jewelry matching those stolen items. For Booth, he remains in jail tonight pending his next court date. Reporting live from the Miami-Dade County Jail, Lorena Inclán, NBC 6 News.
All right, Lorraine.
Thank you, Lorraine Inclán. I'm going to put up a content warning for this one. Not because anything is violently graphic. This one might be a little sexually graphic. A man in LA has been terrorizing neighborhoods, apparently very naked.
Now to this, a naked man has been terrorizing residents in a mid-Wilshire neighborhood for months.
He appears at all hours of the day and night, screaming and committing lewd acts, and residents say they have had enough. Mary Beth McDade live in the mid-Wilshire neighborhood.
Just keeping the house prices down. Clinically, that's actually a pretty good,
You live in sexual anarchy?
a pretty good assumption. Like, that might be a safe bet.
Where she spoke to frightened residents. Mary Beth.
Yeah, Mike and Cher, I can tell you that these residents are frustrated and fearful. They don't know what can be done to stop a naked man from living in their yards and touching himself inappropriately. They don't feel that their children or themselves should have to live like this.
He's just wagging it in people's yards?
This naked homeless man has been terrorizing a mid-Wilshire neighborhood for several weeks. That's according to residents who witness him run around naked, screaming, and at times...
He kind of looked like Horace Andy, the reggae singer. Seriously.
Who witness him run around naked, screaming, and at times touch himself in a sexual manner.
Most nights he sleeps naked, and anywhere he can find access to someone's yard or stairwell, he will be naked and sometimes do not nice things when he's naked.
I've never felt intimidated by his presence, but when I woke up and saw him in my backyard, that's a little different when someone's on your property.
Residents who
he almost certainly needs help
say the neighborhood is packed with children.
A lot of kids, and A lot of lewd acts that are not.
If he has a nice dick, he could probably make a lot of money on OnlyFans.
It's not safe for anybody.
This neighborhood is filled with 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, teenagers, and he's being found in the backyards, and the parents are very concerned.
This woman says at times he walks around with items that could be used as weapons.
There have been times he's been found with a weapon, like he was arrested a few weeks ago with a taser. 2 days ago, he was walking around with a golf club.
She says she chased him away from her property on Saturday night. Get out of here!
My daughter, she's 16 years old with 3 friends. She walked in the door at 11 o'clock, and at 11:30, he was naked on my front stoop.
Then on Sunday, the man reportedly identified as 51-year-old Dushan Barnett was apparently arrested for allegedly stealing clothes, towels, and camper parts from a resident. But many anticipate he'll be back soon. Neighbors would like to see him removed from their neighborhood and get the mental help they believe that he needs.
He gets released to wait for the trial. He doesn't show up for the trial because he's not competent, and then he comes back into this neighborhood, and most of us are feeling a little on edge.
And several residents tell me that they believe that this man at one point lived in this neighborhood, and that's why he keeps coming back here, because he feels comfortable here. For now, reporting live in Mid-Wilshire, Mary Beth McDade will send it back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, that was sad. You know me, like naked man terrorizing neighborhood, but no, that was sad. Yet another example of our failed empire. Where people fall through that looked like a really nice neighborhood. Did it get gentrified and he was not able to keep up with the house prices and shit? Lost his house. This is America. Going to Chesapeake. All I know about this story is that they are calling it a lemonade larceny.
We have breaking news from Chesapeake now. Police say they got the guy who stole money from a kid's lemonade stand.
The story on this brazen robbery went viral 2 weeks ago when a man made off with the children's money jar, but a surveillance camera was watching.
You see him right there. So were lots of other folks were watching in Hampton Roads when we covered this story, and they were outraged and ended up showing their overwhelming support. Our Chris Horn has the latest development from this afternoon. Chris?
Who steals a kid's tip jar? That's insane!
With the children's money jar, but a surveillance camera was watching.
You see him right there. So were lots of other folks were watching in Hampton Roads when we covered this story, and
I believe so, Curiouser,
and ended up showing their overwhelming support. Our Chris Horn has the latest development from this afternoon. Chris?
Yeah, Stephanie, police have arrested 19-year-old Esteban Santillon, charging him with petty larceny. He's a student at Tidewater Community College, which has a campus on Cedar Road near the home of Rebecca and Josh Caldwell. They had set up their lemonade stand August 14th in front of their home on Bells Mill Road. That's when this surveillance video recorded a man snatching their money jar and then speeding off in a Toyota sedan.
Didn't even look like there was that much in it. You're stealing from kids. The fucking piece of shit.
Well, according to police, it was 19-year-old Esteban Santillon who robbed them of about $40. The story shocked and angered our viewers, and they responded over the weekend. Rebecca and Josh set up their lemonade stand once again this past Saturday. This time, though, they collected $6,200.
Well, good on them.
In the past hour with the kid's mom, Annetta, she says she's super relieved police have now made an arrest. Annetta Caldwell also said she's eager to talk with Santillon. If it turns out he is, in fact, the one who robbed her kids, she's not angry. She just wants to learn more about his situation and why he allegedly did what he did. Chris Horn, 10 on your side.
I mean, if they're a college student, probably living on ramen and shit. Make more lemonade. Brazen indeed. That's the only way you can describe that. Go to Australia, where an amusement park ride apparently got stuck and left riders in midair.
Here's a different kind of stuck. A ride at an Australian theme park malfunctioned, leaving 13 people stranded in midair. It happened on the Vortex at the SeaWorld on the Gold Coast. The park says the ride stopped because of a sensor malfunction. Passengers got a little water, some umbrellas to protect them from the heat, but they were still stuck for an hour and a half before park engineers were able to manually lower the ride. Thankfully, no one was hurt.
God damn.
Questions are being asked after more than a dozen people were trapped for about 2 hours at a theme park on the Gold Coast. Reporter Danielle Mahe is at SeaWorld, where the ride malfunction happened.
SeaWorld!
Danielle, how did this all unfold?
Fuck SeaWorld, by the way.
Good morning. Well, this was not the ride that these tourists expected, that's for sure. The Vortex, which is a popular Big Blue attraction here at SeaWorld, that is the ride at the centre of this incident.
Light one up, tip one back.
Afternoon. Now, it's advertised to provide a high-speed, thrilling experience, and it claims to twist, turn and spin you like never before, but that is not what happened. In fact, the opposite happened, and at about 2:30, that ride stopped mid-ride, and there were 13 passengers on board, and they were stuck in the air about 15 metres above the ground for almost 2 hours. Now, fortunately, though, that ride did stop upright, and they weren't left upside down. But the downside was that it was quite a warm day. It was quite a warm day yesterday, and so we saw staff having to go to their aid on cherry picking.
I'm scared to fucking death of heights, so
give them a bit of reprieve from the heat as they waited to be rescued. Now, emergency services were on standby, but engineers were eventually able to lower that ride down so that they were able to each safely disembark, and no passengers needed to go to hospital for treatment. But paramedics did say that one of those passengers did suffer a bit of heat stroke as a result. Now, this is actually the second time that an incident of this kind has happened within the past week here at SeaWorld. If you can see just behind me, the Leviathan, which is a big roller coaster here at SeaWorld, that also stopped mid-way.
Wow!
It malfunctioned last Thursday, and we do understand that about 20 passengers were on board, and it took them about an hour.
A bit of heat stroke.
Right, and how has SeaWorld responded to the incident?
Now, SeaWorld has
Same fuck your feelings.
a standard ride stoppage due to a sensor communication fault. Now, in a statement, they have said that those 13 passengers on board were in constant communication with their team, and they've also reiterated that their team regularly trains for these type of events should they happen. Now, as for the ride itself, we are unsure as to when it will reopen to the public, but I have spoken to SeaWorld this morning, and they say that engineers will be here this morning, I guess trying to run some diagnostic tests to determine exactly what happened. But as for those unlucky passengers, I'm sure this will be a ride they will never forget.
I'm sure. When I was a kid, we used to go to Camden Park in Huntington, West Virginia all the time. And yes, it was an amusement park that you would expect to find in Huntington, West Virginia. It had one ride, one roller coaster that had a loop. It was the only one that had like anything that was upside down or anything. All the rest of the rides, stupid fucking basic. But one roller coaster had a loop in it. That's all it was. It was just down, loop, up, and then it would come back and you go through the loop again. Boom. One time when I was there, it got stuck right at the top of the loop. Everybody hanging upside down for hours. Guess who never fucking rode that ride in their life? That happened when I was a kid. Never rode it. Not once. Ain't happening to me. So many of my friends always went to Kings Island, right? Because it's in Cincinnati or outside of Cincinnati. And I grew up in Pikeville, Kentucky. A lot of my friends would go up and go to Reds games because Cincinnati was about 2.5 hours, 3 hours from us. A lot of my friends would go to Kings Island. I've never been to Kings Island, not once. Which, I mean, is it even called that? Is it like Six Flags Kings Island or something? And isn't Cedar Point, isn't it owned by Six Flags? It's like Six Flags Cedar Point. Once again, I don't like heights, so I'm not opposed to roller coasters, and I've been on several that have gone upside down. Like the Rock and Roller Coaster. Oh, it's Paramount. I thought Six Flags bought it. Didn't it used to be Paramount's Kings Islands, and now it's Six Flags? I guess like one of the most I guess it's probably pretty tame too would be like the Rock and Roller Coaster, the Aerosmith ride. But it had like several loops and shit. I had no problem with it. I liked Splash Mountain. I've rode it many times at Disney. Tower of Terror. I've rode it several times. I think I've even got a picture of me on it somewhere. I like Tower of Terror. I mean, it's not like I'm opposed to rides or anything, but I am opposed to this motherfucker. Apparently, he was a French heartthrob. Late film star wanted his dog buried with him. Good news, the dog gets to live. I could understand, like, bury my cats with me. But my cats live their lives. I want them to be taken care of. Dig my ass up and put my cats in there after they've lived their full lives. Before he died this week, French film icon Alain Delon once suggested he wanted his beloved sheepdog Lubo buried with him. To the relief of animal lovers around France, Lubo will be allowed to survive. Delon, an internationally acclaimed and prolific actor and producer, died on Sunday, aged 88. Will be buried on Saturday at his family home in Douchy. I don't know if that's how it pronounces, or if that's how it's pronounced, but I'm going with it. He was quoted in 2018 interview with Paris Match as saying he wanted Lubo, a Belgian Malinois he adopted in 2014, buried with him. I've had 50 dogs in my life, but I have a particular relationship with this one. If I die before him, I'll ask the veterinarian to leave us together. I'd prefer that to knowing that he would let himself die on my tomb amid so much suffering. After Delon's death, animal rights activists and concerned citizens raised the alarm about Lubo's fate. An official with the Brigitte Bardot Foundation, a prominent animal rights group founded by the famed French film star who was close with Delon, said he contacted Delon's family after the foundation members expressed concern. They said the question was not even raised and they would let the dog live. They said he has a home at Douchy and will live there. The official spoke on condition of anonymity. He was not authorized to be publicly named according to the foundation's communications policy. The official said Delon was a longtime friend of the foundation, helped raise money for its causes. Delon's family didn't publicly comment about the dog. France's Society for the Protection of Animals welcomed the family's decision. Our phone lines were saturated with calls by people worried about the dog. Lubo will probably be very sad to have lost the affection of Mr. Delon, Sanchez said, but we are totally against the idea that anyone euthanizes an animal for this reason, Delon or no Delon. Organizations that work to protect animals want society to develop awareness that an animal is an individual and separate being. A particular relationship. They don't have a government, but they're worried about a dog. And if you are a dog lover and that story upsets you a little bit, allow me to give you a bit of catharticism afterwards. There are new puppies on the puppy bus.
Thank you for riding with Mo Mountain Mutts. Would you guys like a complimentary treat from your friend Nala with your bus ride?
Don't go anywhere. I'm going to stick around for just a little bit.
Little Louie.
I didn't expect to wrap up this early.
Carl, stop that. It's for Louie.
Stop it, Carl.
It's new.
So if you're watching on Twitch, you're not going anywhere.
I'm gonna have to check it out first. Carl, who'll eat anything.
Oh, Carl. Look at those eyes.
Did you even chew?
He didn't.
Little Max?
Little Max.
Murray?
Murray. We've met Murray many times
So
before.
has to sniff down a new treat? No?
Doesn't want it?
It's different, yeah.
Oh, he doesn't want it. Well, get something for Murray that he wants. I don't want Murray not to get a... Oh, did you miss Cat Bus the other day, Curiouser?
There is Zach.
They have Cat Bus now.
There is Daishu.
We watched Cat Bus the other day.
Nope.
Bow Mountain Meows is what they named it.
Dasher?
Dasher.
Callie?
No, it's real. Bow Mountain Meows.
Bailey?
I was very excited.
And Telly.
Yeah, dogs can be stinky, but let me tell you, cats can too. I know this for a fact.
Murray, you want some Stewart's Drive?
Oh, good.
It's kind of getting dusty. Yeah, I thought so.
Oh, was it an April Fool's joke? Maybe. But they had a video about it.
Soul Sister?
They had cats on there.
Like to try some salmon instead?
Oh, yay. Puppies that didn't like that treat. Got them something else. That's good. Oh, yeah, puppy bus.
Thank you for riding with Mo Mountain Mutts. Would you guys like a complimentary treat from your friend Nala?
So if you are watching on YouTube, we're going to say bye to you. If you're on Twitch, you're not going anywhere. I'm going to hang with you guys for a little bit because I don't think Producer Dave is on. And we'll find somebody cool to raid here in a half hour, an hour or so.
It's new. It's different.
If you're watching on YouTube, if you're on the podcast feed, go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live.
Murray?